All right, hi and welcome everyone to the next episode of the Keptn Dev meeting. Today it's the week where we are going through features that have been implemented in the last 2 weeks, and without losing that much time, I would like to directly hand over to the first one in the agenda. But before talking about features, I see that Giovanni want to give us an update on release 0.9. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to say just for the community that we're in the process of releasing Keptn 0.9. The key feature is that we can now pause, resume, and stop and aborting sequences. And yeah, also many bugs have been solved. So stay tuned for the next release of Keptn.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward. And I think still the features that are presented today will be part of 0.9.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, then let's hand over to Klaus.
Okay. Let me share the screen. Okay. So yeah, the bridge now has a new feature for showing, updating, deleting subscriptions, etc. So if you click on the integration in your uniform screen, you can now see a new tile, subscriptions. And here you can add, delete, or edit the subscriptions for the selected integration. Yeah, for example, you can now edit a subscription, and yeah, this should not happen. Okay. Yeah, demo environment is always not the best idea, I guess. Okay, I don't know what exactly is happening here, but let me try something else.
Try another service, maybe.
Which is no, the bridge is actually running, so I will try on my cluster directly. Okay, seems like there's the same problem. Well, okay. Then let's just go through the screenshots. So in the subscription screen, there is now, you can edit and create subscriptions. And the task which is shown here is defined in a shipyard file. So each task defined in a shipyard file is shown or is selectable in this new screen. And also for the task suffix, so you can select triggered, started, or finished, or a wildcard for all. Also the stages and services are all from the selected project are available. So yeah, and you can also check if this subscription is just for this project or for all projects, so global. And yeah, that's basically it. And yeah. Yeah, I guess that's all from my side. Any questions?
Klaus, next to editing or adding a subscription, is possible to edit it?
Yeah, it's possible to edit it, to delete it, or add another subscriptions. Now I don't know what with my environment is, but usually it should go.
Okay.
And this really configures the subscription in the distributor of the respective service.
Yes.
Perfect.
I used the feature today for the webhook service, and yeah,
It worked, so must be something with your environment.
Yeah, I have to check. Maybe there's something with my Git repo. Maybe I deleted the repository because I was cleaning up something, could be. So yeah, could be that the shiplet file is not found. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's basically it. Any other questions?
But we saw the error could not check out branch. Can you
Yeah.
show this a little bit more prominent?
Yeah, we also discussed today that we should show error messages a bit different than it is now, because each error is shown in a small notification on the bottom, which is gone in about 5 seconds or so. And we will change it to a prominent notification at the top, which is red and stays there for much longer.
But this error message was correlated to the fact that you could not open the edit screen, right?
Yeah, because in the edit screen, I'm trying to fetch the shipyard file, and
okay,
here I get the error.
okay.
But yeah, could possibly be because I cleaned up some repositories and the shipyard file could not be retrieved. So yeah, I have to check it afterwards. Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, it's a little bit sad that we cannot open the edit button, but would
It's
have
no
been
problem. I have on my side also spawned up Keptn. I don't know exactly which version it is, but I can try to show it as well.
okay. Right, nice.
Okay, then I will directly hand over to Bernd.
Yeah, thank you. Just share the right screen. Yep. Okay, I'm just going to show you some details about the story I did in this sprint, which is exactly the backend stuff for the subscription management Klaus showed us before. Let's have a quick look at the Swagger specification of the API. Basically, the subscription management or uniform management, how you want to see it, is also again part of the control plane API, meaning that it is hosted by the shipyard controller, as a lot of other APIs also are. If we scroll down here, we see the uniform section here, and it was already present before, but now we have a couple of more methods which we can call here. Let's quickly go through them. Of course, you can still get registration data of an integration. You can create registration data. That's usually done by the distributor. When it's started up, it will register itself in a uniform API and call that endpoint. It's post endpoint. Then also it's possible to delete the registration data. That's the first change we've introduced with the new release then. In the previous release, each distributor was responsible for unregister or deleting itself from the registration API. This, of course, only works if the distributor or the integration has the opportunity to call that endpoint, of course, during its shutdown. And this, of course, only works if the service is able to gracefully shut down. If not, it is not able to call this endpoint, thus it will not be able to delete itself from that list of integrations. We had some kind of time to live in the database for that, which we tuned a little bit. I think in the end, it turned out that this mechanism to actively unregister ourselves from this registration database, so to say, is a little bit fragile, because it might be the case that you just are restarting a service or something like that. And from that point of view, it will register, deregister itself and register, but with another state, so to say, because as you know, the uniform registrations, if you take a look at the distributor, for example, here we have the README. You can configure here all kind of stuff. For example, the filters, where is it? Here, project filter, stage filter, service filter. Those are just very simple comma-separated strings where you can do a basic configuration of your subscriptions. But with the new API, you can actually subscribe to multiple topics with different filters and so on, and that's just not we are not able to model this with just these 3 environment variables. So what will happen is that the restarting service will again register itself with its, so to say, initial configuration, and all the things you have done in the uniform API via the bridge will be gone then. So we decided to move away this deregistering stuff, and if you just kill a service, it will be after, I think, is it 2 minutes or something, it will fade out from the UI. That's, I don't know if it's configurable. Do you know, Klaus?
Oh, sorry, what?
It should be configurable.
Should be configurable. The time when a
yeah,
row in the uniform
I haven't
will fade out.
put it in an environment variable, but I could change it easily.
Okay, but it's not configurable
At the moment,
by the user.
no.
Okay, but I think it's 2 minutes or something like that. Then the service will fade out because it's not running or has network problems and so on. Nevertheless, the database entry in the backend will stay with all its configuration the user has made via the API or via the bridge UI. And the next time the service restarts, it will not re-register itself with the basic configuration like defined in environment variable, but it will recognize that it was already registered and will reuse that configuration. So that's then more aligned with the fact that we nonetheless want to go to a more centralized way of configuring all the subscription and not via environment variable in each service. So that's one change. Where did I stop? Yes, so delete. The endpoint is still there. You could even use it for, I don't know, troubleshooting or something like that. If you have the situation that something is in a uniform which should not be there, as you know, this is also all kind of beta stuff could happen. Maybe for some kind of risk condition or something like that, you still have the possibility to manually delete stuff which should really not be there. The next thing is also a new endpoint, which is put HTTP endpoint. Here it is called ping. Could also be seen as some kind of heartbeat or something like that. This is the endpoint each distributor is calling periodically to signal to the control plane that is still here, so that it is running, and we will see that in the uniform screen by the fact that it is shown there. Why it is a put endpoint? Just because of the fact that this endpoint has a side effect. So originally we thought of this could actually just be a get endpoint, and the distributor are calling this endpoint and are getting back the current subscription configuration. In the end, this thing here, when you call it, modifies a state, namely a timestamp, which is held by the backend for each registration. to memorize when the last heartbeat came from a integration. So to signal that this actually changes something, it doesn't change registration data, but just some kind of metadata in form of a timestamp. We implemented it as a put endpoint. And that would not be so clear if it's a get endpoint and you're still modifying some kind of state in the back. It's not so transparent then. Nonetheless, this one is called by each distributor. What the distributor is getting back is the current configuration of its subscription, and it will do whatever is the content of that. So if you change configuration in the bridge, it will get notified via this endpoint. I think every 10 seconds it will call this endpoint and do whatever is there. If it's a subscription change, it will change the subscription to the nuts topic represented by the subscription. Okay, the next endpoint is then already at the next level. So here we just talked about registrations. You can get the registration, you can delete it, you can create it. And of course, for each registration, you can also create or query subscriptions then. I don't want to lose much words of this. It's self-explanatory. I think, for example, to create a new subscription for an already existing integration, you just pass here the path, the integration ID, and then the payload of the new subscription. You can delete a subscription via giving the endpoint the integration ID and the subscription ID, and you can get all the subscription and update or create it. So not so exciting. Actually, it's just a CRUD REST API, so to say, which is now in place for handling all of that. Here we have my screen. I don't know which exact version now this is, so if it's still not working.
I could now show it because I found the bug.
You found a bug? Do you want to show it or shall I continue?
As you wish.
Let's just try it on my side. If it's not working, you could give it a try again. But basically, you see here all the integrations. Actually, they are not all here. If you take a look, you're missing the API service, you're missing the shipyard controller, and so on. Why they are not here? Because they are not seen as ordinary Keptn integrations. They are not a task processor, so to say, but just services which are responsible for other tasks in the Keptn system. So the gmeta service, for example, is one thing you could configure via this API here. And let's see if I could click here, add subscription. Oh, it seems to work here. Yeah, you just, as Klaus already said, configure here your subscription. And
also to mention, the service create and delete are default tasks which are defined.
Okay.
So service create and service delete is always here.
Yeah. What I'm a bit wondering is why do you not say see the test task here in this list? Because actually the gmeta service
is
right
it defined in the shipyard? Because only defined tasks in the shipyard file are shown here.
Johannes, no, it's not defined explicitly in the shipyard, I think.
Then I assume it will not show up in the drop-down list.
Yeah.
How about
Because
evaluations? And so this is our default sequence, which is built in the shipyard controller. Actually, we should show this here as well, even if it's not explicitly defined in the shipyard. Would you agree?
I would agree, and I thought we've gone through the list of built-in tasks, so to say, but test seems not to be there. Is evaluation there also not? Oh, no.
No.
Okay, then we definitely need to also put them there. What did we put there then? The
Default
service
tasks are
create?
just service create and service delete,
Mhm.
but we should also add the evaluation, I guess.
I also guess so, yeah.
And Bernd, can you again click on add subscription,
Yeah.
please? How can I use the filter for stage and service in? Oh, now I see how this is going. Yeah.
Mhm.
Stage, and then you can provide the value, and service, and then you can provide the value.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So I have not so much prepared, but I have here the JMeter service, for example. If we can take a look at the deployment, these are the boards. Here we have the distributor of the JMeter service itself. Let's take a look at the logs. And in theory, if I would add here a JMeter service as subscription, add something, doesn't matter now, service create, started. First of all, I see it here, of course. And oh, we already see here some log messages that we are now subscribing to test triggered as well as service create started. So in fact, in the background, the distributor is via its heartbeats getting this information from the backend and is subscribing itself. One note though, if you're running on the remote execution plane, we have this limitation that you can only subscribe for triggered events, of course. So that limitation, I don't know when we will get rid of that exactly. I think it's planned, but for now, you need to run your service inside the cluster on a control plane to actually subscribe to each and every event besides the triggered events. So yes. Then I also can simulate it here and actually show you that the distributor also is doing stuff when running outside of the control plane. So the JMeter service here, of course, was running on the control plane. You actually see it here also, control plane. If I would run a distributor locally on my laptop, can do it. I would see here also, yes, it's trying to register itself, and this time through the official public Keptn API to fetch events and so on. You can already see here it's using this endpoint to fetch triggered and only triggered events. You cannot get more at the moment via this API. And if I refresh here, I should already see also this new service, which is called Whoopee. It has no version. It's running on the remote execution plane, my laptop. And you could as well modify, delete, or add subscriptions. Again, just triggered subscription. I don't know if the API actually, if the UI actually just gives you, no, it gives you all the possibilities, but obviously it would just work with triggered events.
Can we place here some node?
We should actually.
I mean, we do not have to check it in our logic, but only a node, hey, dear user, if you're having a service running outside of the control plane and you don't directly accessing nuts, then only triggered events are supported.
Klaus, can you do that?
Yeah.
Should be fast, and if you like to iterate on the text, I can help.
So it looks a bit boring here on my side because I have no exciting shipyard. I only have a shipyard where I have this execute, I think it's called webhook or something like that task. But here you would see each and every task for that project you have configured in your shipyard. Maybe it looks better on Klaus' side, but I have not configured something more complex here. But you would see the stuff from the shipyard and the default stuff. And as we discussed a couple of minutes ago, we should also have here test and evaluation. And nothing else, I think, or I don't know. Yeah, if I would now press Ctrl+C, I would still see that the distributor is able to gracefully shut down. It's terminating all of its internal components and so on. However, I would still see it here for, I think, 2 minutes, and after also 2 minutes it will fade out from the UI, and after 2 days per default I think it will also finally fade out from the backend completely. So then your changes or your data for that integration also in the backend is deleted, and that's configurable. You can also put there whatever you want, 100 days or something like that. It's configurable while the Helm job. One thing to mention, probably for Lighthouse service, approval service, remediation service, so all the built-in use case services of Keptn, we've decided for now, I don't know if it will change, like if it will stay like this or if it will change. We decided to give the user not the direct possibility to change subscription for them. You see, remediation service doesn't give you the UI for that. Helm service will give you the possibility to meet the service as well, and of course all your custom integrations as well, but the built-in ones don't give you the opportunity to do that. If you have still the use case to do that for whatever reason, you can still of course do it via just using the API directly, but it's no default possibility in the UI, because if you delete something here, you might break default use cases and so on. And yeah, a little bit too risky. So, and you see here, I've refreshed the Whoopee service on my local machine, which I just terminated, is also gone from the UI. Questions?
I would be interested in the upgrade. So let's assume I have now Keptn 0.86 running, and then I upgrade to 0.9. So, and for example, will those servers be deregistered? Will those servers be fade out, or?
Services which are not hard beating or continuously calling that ping endpoint will per default fade out after 2 minutes.
And this also applies for the services which registers in 0.86.
It also applies to older services.
Okay, cool. So
the only thing you will notice after an upgrade is that you have, for at most 2 minutes in the UI, have possible duplicates, because the old services are not re-registering themselves anymore, and they possibly get another integration ID, but after 2 minutes those should fade out.
And okay, if I now have Gmeter service 0.86 running, that it also should retrieve, let's say, ABC test triggered or ABC triggered event, and then Gmeter service 0.9 comes, it won't take ABC triggered as subscription, right?
It will take whatever is configured in the, so initially it will take whatever is configured in the environment variables for that.
Okay.
for that deployment or bot. And I think those do not change, so it will.
And
So until now, it was no possibility to change that because there was no subscription API.
my
would-
question is, if there is a new service, how do you match it to the old one, which was before registered potentially?
The old version will fade out and the new version would be a new entry.
Yeah,
Subscribe
but the
to
version is
the same
computed
instance.
as an hash of the node. And what else, Bernd? I forgot.
The ID,
Yeah,
the ID is computed as a hash of I think it's a hash of, let me see, deployment name,
Yeah.
namespace, and
Yeah.
node name.
Okay, but this means Jmeter service 0.9, which runs in the same deployment name, in the same namespace, and has the same node name,
We'll get the same ID.
subscriptions, which is perfect.
If it applies, on the upgrade from 0.8.7 to 0.9, I don't know, because could be the case that the new integration will get a different ID because the node name was previously not part of the integration ID computation.
Oh, right, and this is also probably a little bit dangerous because as soon as Jmeter service is moved from one of my 25 nodes from my Kubernetes cluster to another one, it won't get the same subscriptions.
It won't get the same subscriptions. Yes.
Is this the behavior we would like to have?
Initially, we would like to have it distinct, yes.
But
it comes with the cost of losing configured subscription configuration.
But what I actually would like to have is, instead of the node name, I would like to have the Kubernetes cluster.
Yes, maybe it would be better. Nonetheless, the default behavior right now is if you set it, it will be considered in the computation. If you don't set it, there's a default fallback to Keptn node. So if you don't set it, you will not have that problem, but then they are not distinct from node to node, of course.
Okay.
But if this causes problems that, for example, you restart a pod and it gets spawned up on another node and gets a different integration ID, then it would be better to not set it at all. Then it's always that string and you don't have this problem particularly. But as you said right now, maybe the cluster name would have been a better choice. But then you cannot distinguish those two integrations, which is also not good. So we actually need to come up with a solution to, although they have different IDs, use the same configuration, or the old configuration, the already configured configuration.
Yeah, I had a small question. Like, is there a possibility that we can have some sort of a global way? So despite the services being in different clusters, they can somehow listen to the same subscription using some kind of a global ID. Is that like a possibility, or can it be handled in a certain way like that?
To have just a global ID per service. The question here is clearly is it enough that the ID is completely random? Or do we have to compute it in some kind of deterministic way to come to the same iteration ID?
I think the question is different. It's more on providing the filters. So you provide for a set of filters that can apply globally.
Correct. That is what I meant.
I think on the UI, you can already click on the all project. So that specific filter for that specific service will apply for all possible projects that you have. If you
Yeah,
press on
but that was not a question, or that you're talking about something different now. Or you're talking about this thing
This
here.
check mark.
Yep.
I don't understand now how this is related to the problem of the integration IDs.
No, it's different.
Okay. I think the proposal here was to have some kind of a global integration ID, which is somehow differently computed, if that would be solved the problem, right?
Yeah. So despite the services being in different cluster, they can somehow listen to the same subscriptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what's the use case for the users. There might be really the use case that they have, for example, the JMeter service running on node A and node B, and you just want to have different subscription for those two. Then
I think sharing one subscription between different services does not make that much sense, because a subscription itself has then also a filter on it, and someone is adding a filter to a subscription in order to determine, I want to have the execution of this task, especially for in this stage. And most of the time, the executing service is running on the cluster, meaning in the environment also determined by the stage name.
yes, I'm also of that opinion. And so basically, I think it's okay that those services get different integration IDs. However, we might think about a solution to not lose already configured configuration data. That's right. That's the problem which was brought up by Andreas. But Andreas, so far so clear.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Other questions?
Just a quick one. The Whoopee service you deployed had the location remote execution plane, and was this can I configure this name of the location?
Good question. I think you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes. It's part of an, I don't know, some of the environment variables.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one exactly.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay. Maybe that one, location. That one might be the one. Yes. And if you don't set it, then it's kind of automatically figuring out, am I on the control plane or am I on a remote execution plane based on the way it's installed.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay, to also give the others some time to present, I will now cut it off and hand over to the next one. Thank you. I don't know who's the next one, but
It's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, okay.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Just have troubles with my microphone. So I will go over the short improvements really quick and then go to the two big issues. So what I did is for the bridge, I introduced settings navigation here. So this is part for future plans to have settings unified in the bridge for services or other stuff that is coming up. So if there is going to be something added for the project scope, it can be then found here. So it is now in there and yeah, will be used, I think, in the future. So the next point is the service name is now also shown in stage task. So the problem was that only the image and the version was shown, and this could lead to confusion for which service this image was used. So now it's displayed like this. It's the service and then the image with the version that's deployed for every sequence. Okay, so this was that. The next thing I worked on was the documentation for the IDE setup. So at the core team, we had some sort of pain that everyone that worked on the bridge has had different settings for IDE and for setup. I tried to write down as exactly as possible what we use for IntelliJ and also for Visual Studio Code, how to set up the IDE. So yeah, it's a pretty detailed description here. Also, what we added is code style. So we added for IntelliJ as well as for Visual Studio Code, there are now setting files that can be imported to ensure a code style over for all developers to work on the repository. I also described how to activate save actions, for example, for formatting on save and so on. There's also the description how to enable TS-lint for both IDEs and some additional configurations, as well as recommended plugins that we use. So to make your life a bit easier while developing for Bridge. So hopefully this will help us in the future to have better code quality and how should I say, a better opportunity for setup for newcomer developers, or at least, or also for contributors if someone wants to contribute to Bridge, they can now find a detailed description how to set up properly. Okay, so this is you can find the setting files for IntelliJ and for Visual Studio at the root folder of the bridge. So it's the IntelliJ.xml or the settings.json files, and they can be imported into the IDEs. So this is the Visual Studio Code. Okay, and the thing what kept me busy for most of the sprint was the migration from Jasmine to Jest as a test framework. We decided to migrate to Jest because it's a bit more comfortable, it's running faster, it's running more stable. So it's already configured and built in properly, so you can run the Jest tests with npm run test. So there is the config already given. I don't know if it's interesting to go over the just config. No, I don't think so. It's just configuration for test runner and also some setup stuff. Yeah, so it's not very much to show for just what I can show you. So the tests are running now pretty well. For me, it's more comfortable now, and you always also have, when the test complete, a really nice coverage overview that is printed out. So yeah, and we continue unit testing with this. Any questions?
Do you have, or do you get the same kind of information also in the CI pipeline?
Yes, it's now the same. So you should also be displayed the whole log that just prints out in the IDE. So I let it also run in the terminal. So this is, where is my terminal? There. So this is what will be shown in the CI, basically.
I would be interested what was actually the problem with Jasmine?
Karma
Or
is,
what was the motivation to switch?
Karma is a bit, how should I say, Karma is a bit fussy. So you write tests, you test them. You rewrite them because they, for example, don't work, or something is still wrong, and you restart your tests, and somehow Karma didn't update. So this was something for me that is very annoying, because you have no clue why your tests suddenly are so, or your changes didn't take effect. So what also is a point that is better with Jest doesn't need a headless browser. So for Jasmine had to start the Karma server, and Karma provides a headless browser or a browser, depends on which configuration you have. And it's also very time consuming to start up everything and test. And I can show it. For example, so you needed a plugin. Then when you pressed on run, it needed like 2 minutes to start the Karma server. And then you got your result. And as you can see, it's like I needed like 10 seconds or so. So how should I say, it's just quality of life improvement for developers. So it got really more comfortable for testing and for running tests. And what I want to also include, because it's not yet included, there are also custom matches for Jest, for DOM, and for advanced stuff. And I will create a ticket for that, because I want just to include this. And then I think we're good to go with Jest.
Okay, thanks. So unit test coverage will go up as hell now.
It already did go up, because Jest requires you to have at least one test per test suite, and we didn't even have that.
Okay.
So it went up like, I think, 14%.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Are there any questions to any of the topics? Otherwise, I will hand over to. No, wrong window. I don't know. My window's gone. I'll
just hand it over to me
okay,
so that I can wrap it up. Other questions to Elizabeth? Okay, it's not the case. Then before closing this session, it's now our best practice to take a look on open pull requests. To open pull requests, and therefore we could open this link, but I already did. I collected all of those that are currently open from the community, and 2 of them are in draft mode. One is from Tanna Gabriel. Last time Jürgen said that he wanna do an outreach to Gabriel to get feedback on this status.
Does that mean does that one mean if it get merged that we don't need the JMeter service anymore?
No, I don't think so. I
Okay.
think that he just made changes in order to use the JMeter image also for the job executor service. It's not a replacement, it's kind of an improvement to make it work.
Okay, but there's then no need to have the JMeter service running all the time.
There's the,
Correct. So it's
correct,
using
yeah.
the JMeter service, but just on a on-demand fashion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. And for using it in an on-demand fashion and job fashion, he made some changes there. I think he introduced this job Boolean variable, which he requires in order to make the decision whether it's job-based or service-based execution.
Cool. So that's actually already the first step we discussed in the architecture meeting, where we want to leverage the job executor more to replace such things like test execution or deployment execution, help service, and so on.
Yep, it's the first step to make this happening for the JMeter service. All right, then the second one is also in a draft mode. It's about skipping the version check for install command. Is someone who can ask someone to take a look at this and to follow this PR?
I'm already following it. I don't know when it's finished. I'm in the next 2 weeks on vacation, so if somebody needs to take over that.
I think, yeah, I can, either me or Flora can take over that.
And that's a Slack discussion going on. It started today, and there's some issue popping up, which could also be done as part of this pull request. I will make a comment on the pull request itself, and I've already commented in Slack. I will put the information there.
Great, thanks a lot. And then last but not least, this is also an additional contribution. It's about changing the Helm charts in order to make the image pool, make a pool of secrets. I already commented on that and asked the contributor to sign the commits so that we can get to start reviewing it, but they are not signed yet. I will ask again about the status, and then let's see whether or when this person signs it so that we then can start to review it. All right. That's it for this week. Thanks for showing all your features. Really cool what's coming there. Arya, any other questions? Okay, it's not the case then. Thanks a lot for joining. Stay tuned for the 0.9 release, and see you next time next week, same time. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.